Okay, this is the old county jail in Charleston, South Carolina. Over 14,000 people have died in this building. Oh.
You the last one?
Yep. I'm the last in line.
Well, for us, nowadays is where you go into the prison. Sawdust on the floor was where they ate, slept, and relieved themselves. And the flooring got changed every 2 weeks, and that was it. So just imagine the atrocious smells in here more than anything else. Now the prison was built, it was one of the first 5 built by the federal government, and it was built to get away from the colonial era of public humiliation. But if you're from the South, you know that we don't change very quickly here. We like things the way they are. And so, you know, it takes a little while to get things rolling. So when that happened, our judges said, well, we like that public humiliation. It works for us. And so they decided that if you're only going to be in here 6 months, that's really not enough punishment. So what they decided was that those who were in here for 6 months or less were going to get a public punishment halfway through their sentence. So basically there were 3 punishments that were used, and let's say that you got arrested for petty theft, the sparkly shirt here. You got arrested for stealing a loaf of bread, petty theft, all right? So you got sentenced to 4 months in here. 2 months had passed, they're going to take you out and they're going to take you into public, and they're going to do one of 3 things to you. The first was called lobbing. They're literally going to lob off or chop off a chunk of your ear and a chunk of your nose so that you will forever be labeled a thief. The second was branding. They're going to put a T for thief on your forehead, your cheek, or your forearm. And the depth of that scar would depend. Then you put your, just come over here and face me. Put your hands in here. So basically the prisoner would be brought out early in the morning. This would probably be out in the yard. Their feet would be placed within a box and tied down or chained down. Then their hands would be placed in these nooses, and they would be lifted into a spread eagle position, and this would be tied off. And then they would let the prisoner hang this way all day long, and at the end of the day somebody would come out and beat her. Would anybody like to practice that? Your sibling over there? Oh, there's always a volunteer. I'm not going to let him know. Okay, thank you. People got out of here. We did not have a lot of recidivism. I don't know that anybody came back. So, all right, let me lead the way here. We're going to go, if you guys need to wait for me, just so we don't get in the wrong places, but we're going to go straight down the hall on the other side of those stairs. There's a door to the left. If you want to go ahead and just go on in there, we can do that.
This one?
Yes, I guess we can open it.
dining. This partition is just kind of half of it. This is where the students now are putting up a bracing system, and so the floor is out on both sides of this room, but eventually we'll have this full room. It was filled with cages, 10 to 15 cages in each cell. The cages were built to hold 2 prisoners, but again, on any given occasion, they might hold 3 to 5. You can see here, this is one of the nice things about coming on the early tour. You can actually see on the floor where the cages were. These are permanent lines that have been left by the original cages. So they didn't have a lot of walking around space, but they did on the outer edges of the room, and they were allowed out of the cages during the day. Now, in this cell, 2 of our most famous, or infamous, as you want to say, prisoners were kept in here, and their names were John and Lavinia Fisher. John and Lavinia, if you look them up on Google, Lavinia is considered to be America's first female serial killer. She and her husband lived in a small, well, in a large house, 6 miles from Charleston. They called it the 6 Mile Inn. They turned it into a bed and breakfast. And literally, they would invite people in to spend the nights there. And while they were there, they would perhaps rob them. And if they robbed them, they actually killed them. Now, the way it worked, of course, this is 1718 that she was arrested. And let me just tell you about Lavinia before I go into a lot of details here. Lavinia was 23 years old when she was arrested. She was 17 when she married John, probably 18 when they opened this inn. She was a beautiful young woman, very charming. She had long, thick brown hair, very curly hair, an angelic face, and she's described as having a beautiful personality. People were shocked when she was arrested and charged with this crime. But they would invite people into the inn, and in 1718, that's too early, that's too late, 1818, sorry. In 18, number 1, because it's funny, it wakes everybody up. Number 2, because I want you to experience something I've experienced. Probably had been working here about a month, and I'd had a couple things, I'd heard a couple things and experienced a couple things. But one night, the other tour guide was done before I was, and he asked if I minded if he left early so he could go to a party. And I said, yeah, no problem, you know. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh wait, if he's leaving, that means I have to walk up by myself tonight. Usually we do it in a pair. Well, let me tell you, my first time to walk over, this door slammed so hard, I literally felt like the jail moved. Now, I'm downstairs. Everything up here is locked. I had shut that door. The windows are all closed. There's no breeze that could shut that metal door. And it slammed so hard. I don't remember doing that last code. They say I did because no alarms went off that night. I just remember running through the parking lot really quick around Jesus at that point. And then I came back, you know.
Don't get stuck. Thanks. Appreciate it. You want me to get one of you in there?
No, it's okay. I don't want to see some ghost in my background.
That's the whole part. That's the whole point, right? Keys? Yeah, take a picture of it.
Oh. Well, then you'll know those aren't the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way in the hallway, guys, in that long hallway there. You need me to come with you. We're waiting for you. Did you see that?
Yeah, you gotta reflect. We got our first one.
Yeah.
No.
Come on, we gotta move. Right here.
Something at Grand Falls.
Oh, this is nice. I can really go here on the steps. All right, so I don't mean to be pushy, but this is where I have to start talking fast because we've only got like 9 minutes and I got about... Basically, during the day, locals would come by and pick up whatever bodies were here. When the locals came by, they would take them by the wagon load to the nearest potter's field and bury them there. And then at night, if there were any bodies left over, when the guards changed shifts, they would load them up into a wagon, and one guard would take them out to a local sawmill where they would chop them up into bits. Then they would take the body parts and bits and go down to the wharf and give them to fishermen. So think about that when you order your fish and chips tomorrow. Why? Because nobody cared about these people at all, and they didn't want to take the time to bury them. It was just easier to do it that way. So, all right, let me get through here. Yes, sorry. All right, please be careful on these steps. They're all
Hey,
three different.
look at this. There's like stuff jumping here. Look. Look at, don't you see little white things jumping?
No.
Right there. See it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, what is that?
Did you see that?
It's dust. It's just dust.
No, it wasn't dust.
Like you're just paranoid.
We're making a popular
A little further, a little more, a little more.
Yeah, I'm trying.
All right, we're moving. All right. So, if I could get everybody that's got light on their phone, picture, whatever, please hold it up against your body so that it does not show. I'm going to turn my flashlight out for about 10 seconds. Couple minutes, I'm going to just tell you a couple quick stories, and then we'll head on out of here. But this area that we're in right now was actually debtors' prison. This isn't where the bad people were. These were people that owed people money. And so, but their conditions were just the same as upstairs. And yet, every time we've got investigators in here or anything like that, most of the evil or the sinister spirits are felt from the morgue to this room. This is where the most stuff happens, and I'm going to give you some examples. Doesn't always happen to guests. A lot of times it does happen to those of us who are tour guides. One of the first things that ever happened to be in this room was a couple weeks after I began, and if you guys see that hole, well, see that, I call it my little Scotty dog up there, but see the hole in its head at the top? Well, there was a brick in there. Now, I didn't see the brick. I was standing telling a story, and all of a sudden that brick came out of that hole and missed me by about 1/4 inch. The interesting thing is I was not standing over there. I was standing right about here. The brick literally flew out of the wall. A couple of the guests saw it and screamed as it was flying and landed right beside my feet. And there was no explanation. There's no hole on the other side. I left the brick here so that people could see what had happened. It just was one of those things that they were kind of giving you a warning. Things that have happened to guests, though, a lot of times people get scratched. They don't even really realize it, but when I mention it and talk about the fact that you will feel a burning or a tingling on your skin, people will realize that they were feeling that earlier. Anybody have that sensation yet tonight? Well, if you're having it going on right now, you might want to check, because a lot of times when you feel that, you'll find 3, usually it comes in 3s. Are you feeling it right now?
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
I mean, okay. Something, and then when we look, they usually come in scratches of 3 for some reason. I had a group of teenage boys one night, and they were just being silly the whole tour. Everything I said, they had a joke about it, things like that. Annoying a lot of people. When I started talking about the scratches, one of the kids said, oh, I was feeling tingling on my stomach when we were upstairs, and his friends all, ha ha ha, that's funny. And he lifted his shirt, and he literally had about 30 sets of scratches on his stomach. Because this is part of the story as we leave. But as Leo would come in to unlock, he would literally start yelling like, okay, you want to scare somebody, scare me. And I'd be like, I don't want to work with you because, you know, that, if they scare you, I don't want to be around. Well, the last time he worked here, and it wasn't really his last night, as he came through the building, he heard footsteps in this room. And he came in to look around to see if he'd left somebody in here accidentally. Nobody was in here, so he started to leave the room, and as he was leaving, he heard a voice from the back of the room saying, "Get out and don't come back." And he said, "See ya." So he got out. We're going to get out, get some air out here in the parking lot. And he was in there with a bunch of men. This prison was co-ed. Matter of fact, men, women, and children, and they were not separated. The youngest prisoners we know of for sure were two brothers that got sentenced to 3 years. They were 10 and 13 when they came in. So they were 13 and 16 when they came out. The youngest hanging was 15. Women and men all in the same cells. Lots of brutality going on because of that. And again, it was definitely called the House of Misery for a reason. Hope you guys had a good time in the House of Misery though. And if you get a chance, hop on Facebook, or not Facebook, TripAdvisor, and give us your input. They're not going to put air conditioning in. I'm sorry. People suggest it all the time. Not going to happen. It's part of the tour. But if you've got, you know, suggestions, we take them. If you've got compliments, we take them. If you're being complimentary, my